Welcome back to another episode of Just for the Tech of It. I am your host, Drew Prindle, and once again, I will be bringing you all of the weird and wild tech news that you probably missed this week. All right, first up, let's talk about cloaking the entire Earth from aliens. So, some of the world's most prominent astronomers, including my man Stephen Hawking, are concerned that if aliens find us before we find them, we might find ourselves in a bit of a predicament. So in the spirit of laying low, a pair of astronomers from Columbia University have developed a clever plan to hide Earth from alien civilizations that might be spying on us from afar. How do they propose to do this? With laser beams, of course. Alright, so let me back up for a second and explain that. So the easiest way to spot a planet in a distant solar system is through this thing called the transit method. So when a star shines normally, it emits a more or less constant level of brightness. But if there's a planet orbiting that star and that planet passes in front of the star, the brightness dips a little bit because the planet is blocking a small amount of the star's light and preventing it from reaching the observer. So by detecting these periodic dips in brightness, astronomers and potentially aliens spying on our solar system can deduce that there must be a planet orbiting the star. Now, back to the lasers. To prevent aliens from detecting Earth in this way, astronomers from Columbia argue that we could use an array of laser beams to sort of fill in the little brightness gap that we leave when Earth passes in front of the sun. What's more is that according to their calculations, doing so wouldn't even require that much energy. The proposed laser system would only have to emit about 30 megawatts of power for about 10 hours per year, which is roughly the same amount of power consumed by 70 homes over the course of 1 year. My proposal? Let's just pick 70 random households and tell them that they don't get power for a year. Sorry, Dave Schultz from Topeka, Kansas, we need this power for our anti-alien invasion insurance policy.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
All right, moving on, let's talk about eating electricity. So, I don't usually talk about products on this show, but this one is too ridiculous to pass up. So it's a fork that uses electricity to stimulate your taste buds and make you perceive flavors that aren't necessarily there. The device, which is still just a prototype at this point and doesn't really have a name, is actually pretty simple. It's really just a fork with a rechargeable battery and a button. So to use it, you just stab the food you're trying to eat, press the button, and then place the food on your tongue. When you do that, you'll actually complete a circuit and a harmless amount of electricity will flow from the fork through your food and then onto your tongue, which in most cases will cause a false perception of saltiness. The idea seems to be that with this device, you can actually make food taste salty but without any actual salt, which is great for people with diet restrictions. Sounds pretty cool, but my only question is, how hard does this thing shock you? Like, I eat a lot of candy. Is this thing gonna just like jolt the fillings out of my teeth as soon as I put it on my tongue? Or like, what if I have a pacemaker? Like, I like good food as much as the next guy, but I don't want a meal that literally gives me a heart attack. Okay, moving on, let's talk about genetically engineered pig hearts. So, as you may or may not know, for the past few decades, scientists have basically been trying to figure out the easiest way to make replacement hearts for humans that need transplants. We've tried building mechanical ones, growing them with stem cells, and even making them in 3D printers. But now there's a group that wants to solve the problem in a completely different way. They want to use hearts from genetically engineered pigs. It's a wildly complex process, but basically scientists have figured out a way to breed pigs with a specific genetic mutation that makes their organs less likely to be rejected when transplanted into other animals. The researchers have been experimenting with this approach using baboons, and in just a few trials, they've actually managed to double the post-transplant lifespan of the monkeys that were given transplants. If they keep up this trajectory, it stands to reason that pig-to-human heart transplants might actually become viable in the next few years, which would be awesome because that way, when you eat so much bacon that you get congestive heart failure, you can actually just use the same thing. All right, that does it for this week, but be sure to tune in next week for more weird and wild tech news.